Is a battlefield? All right, so let's look right over here. Let's look right over here into the camera, okay? Hi, everybody. It's Candy O'Terry. Say hello.
Hello.
Oh, my goodness. So this is Sheilah Dorsey. And so, Sheilah, just give us a couple. She's an amazing singer. So this is just like the inside track on Sheilah Dorsey. Okay? A little Pat Benatar. Hit it.
We are strong, and no one can tell us we're wrong. We've been searching our hearts for so long, long, both of us knowing that love is a battlefield, yeah.
Let's do it together. Ready? Come off your microphone just a little bit, and we'll just sing Love is a Battlefield. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Love is a battlefield.
All right. When you hear the words biotechnology and singing, you might say, what does one have to do with the other? The woman you are about to meet is living a life where her feet are firmly planted in both fields. For this exceptional woman, music is food for the soul. But she's also motivated by the amazing work done each and every day in healthcare and biotech. Her life story is a rich tapestry of experience, and I believe that her story will inspire you to try lots of things, to use your gifts and your talents in a variety of fields. Her name is Sheilah Dorsey, and this is her story. Sheilah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here today, Candy.
Okay, there's just one thing I want to say, and we do have our video camera rolling. I need to have your hair to wear this shirt, right? Your hair, this shirt.
We couldn't have planned it better, right?
It's like a purpley fuchsia color. It's gorgeous, and so is my shirt. Okay, so let's start with what I'm calling the lightning round so that our listeners will get to know you. I just want your quick answer to these next few questions. Ready?
Okay. Yep.
Dunkin' or Starbucks?
Starbucks.
Morning person or night owl?
Both.
Hot or cold weather?
Hot.
Beach, lake, city, mountains? Where do you go on a vacation?
Beaches.
Favorite song of the whole wide world?
Favorite song in the whole wide world would have to be I Know by Bob Marley.
One possession you will never part with?
Oh, one possession I will never part with. That's tough, Candy, because I'm so not into like holding on to worldly possessions. If I would have to say there was something about myself that I would definitely want to hold on to and never lose, is my soul.
There's a snapshot, and now we've got the rest of the story of Sheilah Dorsey. Okay, so you've been earning a living for over 10 years in healthcare systems management and administration.
Yep.
Tell me about your job and the skills that your job requires.
So I think of myself as, you know, I've seen these caricatures on Google and so forth, you know, of this person who's like these many arms, this octopus, you know.
Oh, really?
And I really think of myself that way, you know, and also juggling, you know, so many different roles at so many different times. And I think that I have been fortunate to be in positions and to be in organizations that actually trust me to hold a number of different roles and wear a number of different hats and interact with different functional teams and individuals at all different levels and from all different backgrounds.
I know you got your start at Beth Israel, and you've
Yes.
worked at some different biotech companies. So give us, what are the names of them?
So Beth Israel, there was Mass Biologics, Zyopharm, Sage Therapeutics, which we'll talk about soon, and Almost the Cure, the band that I'm part of there. Currently, I'm with Radius. I've done work at Shire, Novartis.
Wow. So the list goes on and on. You've had a
places.
lot of experience in this field. What is it about that work that inspires you, motivates you, makes you come back day after day?
You know, it's funny that you asked that because we were just talking about this the other day. I think that sometimes we get bogged down so much in our actual activities at work that we sometimes forget that the overall goal and everything that we do ultimately ties into the organizational goal of either developing or creating medicines and devices that actually add quality and value to people's lives and better the lives of people who may be suffering from different indications and things like that. So,
and in fact, medications that can save lives.
Exactly.
Or at least make your life easier and less painful.
This is the goal.
From the time that you were a little girl, singing has played a huge role in your life.
Definitely.
What happens to you when you sing?
It's sort of like retreating into a whole different world. I'm really transformed, I want to say, into this world where it's like my own little bubble. And rather than creating this bubble to keep people out, I've created this bubble that draws people in.
Take me back to the very first song you ever sang in front of someone.
Oh, my goodness. So think 10 years old, on the steps of Boston City Hall, Christmas carols. And I think that my favorite Christmas carol was, of course, Silent Night. But then there was also, Do You Hear What I Hear?
Do you hear what I hear? I love that song.
Said the night went to the little lamb. Yes. And so,
do you hear what
I hear?
Church singing. We learn a lot from singing in church. Let me try that question one more time. Church singing. We learn a lot about singing from singing in church. We learn about stepping out and taking a solo. We learn about stepping back and being part of a group.
Exactly.
Tell me about your experience singing in church.
The first word that comes to mind is freedom. Being free to just allow that sound to come out. And like you said, we learn a lot when we start singing in church because it's more than just the singing. It's more than just the attention when you stand in front of a crowd. It's sharing a part of yourself from deep within. It's creating sort of that spiritual energy, that connective energy, and bringing people together. And in a sense, you really are telling your story. It may be a story that was written by someone else, but you, in your own version of that song. Church is all about cover song over and over again, right? Everyone keeps covering these famous songs or these favorite songs, but they do it in their own way, with their own touch and their own energy. And they essentially share their story with you in singing that song.
And then, of course, inject the faith piece as well, because when you're on a stage and you're performing a song, it's very different from being reverent and pouring some of your heart into the song based on your faith.
And believing what you're singing.
Yes.
And helping other people to understand and encouraging other people to believe in what you are singing.
You were a volunteer DJ. I can't wait to talk about this. And the host of your own show. Wait for it, everybody. It's called Cruising with the Stars with Miss Superstar. Tell me about that experience.
So just as you said, it was a flip because, being a radio personality, we sort of all had our handles, if you will, or our stage radio names. And mine was Superstar. Then it was Ms. Superstar. And so producing this show, Cruising with the Stars, it was me sort of hanging up the headphones and hanging up the microphone and passing that on to someone else and giving them that hour or two to shine and share their talents and tell us about who they are and what inspires them. And I really did it because I think that it gives listeners a chance to actually connect with the person and understand where they're coming from in their music. And sometimes when you have that piece of it, you appreciate that work even more when you understand where it comes from.
I've always believed that in order to be a really good interviewer, you have to be a very good listener.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've been praised and given feedback by people over the years who have listened to my interviews. I remember I was actually surprised. One of the managers of the station he came running in. Someone had called him on his phone and was giving him feedback, and they're like, "I love to listen to her. It's like she's right there." You know what I mean? She's right there with the artist or with the person, and she just brings it all to light. And so it really is about that person who you're interviewing, and that's why it was so intriguing for me to come in and interview with you, because I'm like, wow, like this is someone who actually aligns with some of the ideals and the thoughts and beliefs that I have about what radio and broadcasting is all about.
One of my favorite questions to ask any woman who is a singer is if they've ever heard themselves singing a song on the radio. Have you ever heard your own music on the radio?
So I've done jingles. And we actually got really creative. And a lot of the guys, what they were doing is they were having famous artists, do recordings for them and do intros and things like that, for their shows where they would, sort of mix them in. And we got this idea, and I said, folks are coming down and I'm recording commercials for them, and we're doing that. So I was hearing myself in the commercials on air, which was like, oh wow, that's me, and then that sort of led to, hey, why don't we do some intros and outros for my show? And so that was kind of my real, I want to say, first experience with like recorded singing.
Yes.
Where we did an intro and outro for Cruising with the Stars, and we actually did a cover of Smokey Robinson's Cruising. And did sort of like yeah.
Oh my goodness, how fun is that? Can I tell you a funny story? So the first time I ever heard myself singing a song on the radio was a duet that I did with Jim Brickman called The Gift. And we released the song in 2004.
Wow.
And the station that I was working on here in Boston for all those years, Magic 106.7, my program director decided he was going to play the song. It was a Christmas song. And he told me what time it was going to come on the radio. And I can still remember driving home from the station that night, and I'm on fire. I'm foot on the pedal. I'm trying to get home because I decided I don't want to hear it in the car.
Right.
I want to hear it in my house.
I
don't know what room I want to hear it in.
Up.
Wait,
right.
I need a glass of wine. Oh, hold on. I mean, it was crazy, right? Yeah. It's such a thrill for a singer to hear themselves sing a song on the radio. So you started recording songs. Tell me what it's like for you in the recording studio, because that's also a real skill, isn't it?
Yes, and sometimes I'm amazed by what comes out. So my fiance and I, we actually started our own record label last year in the last quarter of 2018.
Out of Hits Records.
Yes. So Izai is, he's actually, to me, and you can say that I'm biased because obviously he's my fiance and we work together. But even before that, it took some time for us to actually develop a personal relationship. So we came together professionally, and even then, I was really amazed at this person. I want to compare him to folks like Prince or James Brown, who actually, they were so serious about their craft that they could actually play all the different instruments in order to be able to give instruction. And this is kind of how things tie in together with my professional world and my music world, because as a supervisor or manager at work, I believe that no matter how simple the task is, the manager or supervisor should have done that task or be able to do that task and know what it takes to do it in order to be able to supervise or mentor someone else. So he takes his craft really seriously, and when we're in the studio, he's the drums, he can be the keys, he's the acoustic guitar, he's the electric guitar, he's, you know what I mean? He's the horns.
He's Quincy Jones.
You know what I mean? He's just so amazing. And so when you have someone like that with such a creative mind who works that way, it's amazing now when he's putting together a rhythm. It's amazing what it can instill in you and pull out of you. You know what I mean? And so sometimes we're sitting there and like something will just come out of me. And that's the idea for the song. And it's like, and it's great.
You have a brand new single. I want to hear all about it.
So this was the first single, I want to say. So I've written lots of things, lots of poems and things like that. I'm a person who historically has, always kept a journal. But this was the first song. We released it April 19th of this year. It's called Is He, I-Z, He, and it's a spin off of Izzy's or Izai's name. So some people say Izzy, some people say Izai. It's really Israel, and so we do like, Izzy or Izai for short. So it's a spin off of his name, and it was like around that time when, that love was all new and you know how that is.
Yeah.
And so I remember...
You captured it in a song.
And so I remember we had done some rehearsals because, like I said, we were working together professionally for a while, and we had done we had finished a rehearsal session, and I was kind of waiting for him after rehearsal. And so I was just there, and I was like, kind of, bopping and thinking in my head, and this song just sort of came out, is he gonna love me?
Oh, I love that. That's got that's what we call a good hook in our business. Let's talk a little bit about your songwriting.
Yes.
Because I'm blessed to have been able to talk to people like Mariah Carey.
Wow.
And James Taylor and ask them all about how they write a song. Mm-hmm. And Mariah told me that she had this purple journal that was in her sock drawer. And when her mother thought she was doing her homework, she was writing in that purple journal. And when she was broke living in Greenwich Village, and someone offered her $5,000 for that journal.
Wow. Huh.
She said no.
And look what has come into...
Those songs turned out to be the first 5 #1 songs of her career.
Wow.
When you write a song, do you dictate it into your phone? Do you write it down? You said you write poems, pieces of paper. How does it work for you?
So today, it works with either I'm listening to a rhythm that Izai has done, and he's like, hey, write something to this. And I'm listening to it, and it comes to me. And I don't really write it down, I just sort of sing and just let it sort of come to me, and it develops itself. And then, once I sort of get it to where I want, all the pieces, then I'll be serious about it and really think about the arrangement and sort of write it down. And he helps out a lot with that, you know what I mean, and putting the right pieces in place and sort of giving me feedback and things like that. But I really just sort of let it flow now. I don't really try to write it first, and then try to fit it into something. I kind of just let everything else fits around it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Recording a song in a studio is very different from live performance.
Absolutely.
You have to create that connection with the audience. Tell me how that works for you.
So, performing live, it's really, I try to do the same thing that I do in the studio when I'm recording, so that it's never really a different feeling for me. So even when I'm in the studio, when I'm, voicing that song, in my mind, the audience is there. I'm already connecting with this audience. And when you think about it, whatever our thoughts are, when we're even as you and I are discussing and talking right now, we're throwing out a vibe, we're throwing out some energy into the air, into the universe, right? Yeah. And so when I'm in the studio and I'm actually voicing a song and recording it, I'm already in that mode that I'm actually sharing this with an audience, and just sort of letting that energy go out into the universe.
Who has been your role model as a singer?
Oh, let's see. So many. I would say definitely Shaka Khan, Aretha Franklin, Gladys Knight, Diana Ross, Whitney Houston, of course, Alicia Keys. I can go on and on.
These are just iconic women.
Yeah.
With
as a
incredible
DJ,
ranges.
Yeah. As a DJ, I just have had so much access to so much music, and it's so funny because I was a child who grew up in a household where one day my father just brought home an entire jukebox. I think there was a club or a local bar that was going out of business or something, and he just brought home this entire jukebox full of like these little 45 records. And my sisters and I, at the time, we were using it like, we thought it was like a fun toy. But that actually brought us into that whole world of listening to so much, so many different works of art and music from different artists and different backgrounds.
It was a real music machine.
It was actually a real music machine. Yeah,
it's funny that you should start talking about a moment like that where your dad brings this thing home and you just fall in love with it. I believe that we are all influenced tremendously, Sheilah, by our upbringing. Can you share a little bit about your childhood?
Well, I would say that music was definitely in the forefront. I remember it being a go-to for, my grandparents, my parents. It was a soul soother, if you will. It was something that really just it either calmed everyone, or if we needed to bring up the energy a little bit around here, what I'm saying, and wake everybody up, put a little music on. So it didn't matter really what it was. It just seemed like there was always a place for music in our household, and so. And my mother was a person who, she sang in the church choir. And so, wanting to sort of follow in her footsteps, even when I was in elementary school, I was already singing in the chorus or the choir. Elementary school, middle school, high school, church, community centers, any chorus, choir, any singing group that I could join, I was right there.
You never met a microphone you didn't love.
That's right.
That's one of my favorite. One of my favorite expressions. It wasn't long before your colleagues in biotech discovered that you could sing.
Yeah.
And it turns out you're not the only one who has a love for music and for performance in biotech, because there are lots of people out there who have been able to straddle, who knew the scientist down the hall in the White Room could play guitar like nobody's business, right?
It's amazing.
So you are now part of a band which is called Almost a Cure. Mm-hmm. Paint me a picture of the band, your style, your set list, whatever you want to tell me about it.
So Almost the Cure, we are, our foundation is totally rock, hard rock, if you will. But we are very eclectic, and we've done things from Jimi Hendrix to Van Morrison. So we are a broad spectrum. We aren't afraid of any kind of material, but we are foundationally and generally hard rock.
Tell me some of the songs that you love to sing with Almost the Cure.
So we do a lot of Zeppelin. We've done some Rolling Stones. I have to be careful because I don't want to give away anything for the Battle of the Biotech Bands that's coming up later on this month. But yeah, one of my favorite tunes that we've done is "Piece of My Heart" by Janis Joplin. I think that has sort of become one of the staple songs for me with Almost the Cure. I think it blows people away because there are actually two lead vocalists, myself and Blair Meadows, and people would almost think that Blair would be leading that song. So it almost shocks people that I'm the one doing the Janis Joplin "Piece of My Heart." But that is, Frank Salvatore, who's the one who put the band together. I think he really likes to play that song. So sometimes our favorite songs become the ones that Frank plays the best too.
Well, you just mentioned the Battle of the Biotech Bands. Mm-hmm. Now, this is a tradition here in Boston. It has been for years and years. And Almost a Cure is going to participate in this. Each band shows up, performs a handful of songs, and the winner gets a cachet of money that is donated to their favorite cause.
Yes.
Let's talk about the cause that Almost a Cure is performing for.
So we are performing for Joseph's Hope Scholarship Foundation. It's under the Epilepsy Foundation of New England, and it was a foundation that was started by Frank Salvatore and his wife Vicky in honor of their son, who actually had a battle with epilepsy, and unfortunately he passed away, and it was, I think, during a time when obviously we're still trying to do better in terms of finding therapies and medicines for folks who suffer with epilepsy. But during that time, I think it was definitely not not where we are today.
The research wasn't where it is today.
Yeah, exactly. So, so this is something near and dear to Frank and Vicky's heart, and I was honored to be invited to join the band. And even when I made the decision to leave Sage Therapeutics, they've collected this group of Sage alumni. I like to say that they almost did it just for me, so that they could continue to have us be part of. It was Sage Against the Machine, and now it's Almost the Cure, which is a spin-off of The Cure, and then we are in bioscience. And so we're saying almost the cure because music is only half the battle, right? We still need people to get involved. We still need people to support in all the different ways, whether it be, some sort of sponsorship, whether it's the work that they do on a daily basis, when they go into their different organizations and things like that, the salespeople who are out there trying to get this medicine out to healthcare professionals and things like that, and actually get it into the hands and into the realms of the patients that can benefit.
Well, the event, as we said, is called Battle of the Biotech Bands, and it's on May 30th. It's at a place called Club Royale here in Boston, and we'll certainly be posting all about it when you are in the spotlight for our series, The Story Behind Her Success. I remember interviewing Mary Wilson of the Supremes.
Wow.
And she said,
Candy.
When I was a little girl, I was always humming around the house. Tell me a little bit about when you were growing up and what kind of songs you were humming around the house.
So remember, think again, growing up in church with that whole background. I will tell you a funny story. So we actually had what we called our playroom. So in this playroom, we had a couch, and it was basically, your parents decide we need a new living room set or whatever. So the old couch goes into the kids' playroom, right? You guys can sit on this.
Hand-me-downs, that's right.
So we're in the in the playroom, and we've got this couch, and my idea was to take all of my stuffed animals. And I basically lined them up. I sat, the ones on the floor were the sopranos, the one in the actual seat of the couch were my altos, and then the ones who kind of sat up on the back of the couch, where your headrest is, those were my tenors, right? And my basses. And I would stand there like I was conducting a choir as I was singing along, and we always had music devices. We always had something that we could play music on, whether it was the radio or, or cassette or CD or whatever it was, but they always made sure that we had something that we could play music on. So I'm singing, all these songs to myself, and it was a lot of things like Motown, like Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell, Diana Ross and the Supremes, like you said. Exactly. Yeah. The Temptations, the Four Tops, Gladys Knight and the Pips, and so I'm singing these songs, and it's like, I'm directing my teddies to sing, you know what I mean, and all the different voices and stuff like that. And so, so it was kind of fun as a kid exploring medicine that way. I love that
story. That was a great story. When an obstacle is in your path, how do you get around it?
Lots of thought. Lots of observation. I really do try. I'm a very analytical person. So when I feel like I'm presented with a roadblock, I basically need to, and I'm like this with pretty much everything in my life. I analyze whatever the situation is, and I come up with, how am I going to resolve this, or what's the solution, or what are the steps I need to take, to get this over with. And I literally, once I have that list in my head, I literally just knock off. I did this. This is done. That's done. This is done. Almost there. Yep. Done. Complete.
Wow. I'm going to hand you my 16 life lessons. Where are they? We had them. I thought we had. Oh, there you go.
Here they are.
So I'm going to start that again. So, Sheilah, I have my 16 life lessons in front of you. Yeah. I want you to take a good look at those 16 life lessons. Take a minute and tell me which one really reaches out to you. Well,
this first one is amazing. Wake up grateful. which can be very difficult for many people to do, you know, especially if you're not a quote unquote morning person. We all know those people, right? And then aside from that, you know, I know a lot of us have those mornings where we're in traffic and things like that, you know, and so it's sort of easy to, you know, pick up a little negativity here and there with the road rage and whatnot, but really wake up grateful. How many of us really, and I actually force myself to do this a lot, you know. Anytime I start to fall into that wrong sort of thinking, I'm like, well, you know, I did wake up.
I'm alive.
Did wake up this morning. I am alive. I'm in my right mind. I'm healthy. You know what I mean? Even if you've got a little cold or the sniffles, you're still healthy. You can still get up and move around. And seriously, that to me is, once you have that, once you have life and breath, the rest of it, the possibilities are endless.
Your story is all about using your many gifts and talents. What is the moral, then, of your story so far?
I would say that the moral of my story is that although I think that I've been, I would consider myself more an underdog. I think that a lot of people would actually be shocked and amazed and surprised, and they are, you know, because I'm a person who, you know, in the daytime, you know, people will see me with my headphones on, you know, and the headphones are there for concentration, yes, but most of the times I'm multitasking. I'm listening to music. I'm listening to songs that I need to cover and perform later on. I'm listening to my own rhythms and music that I need to write to and things like that. So I would say the moral of the story is that through music, I've actually been able to connect people through my music. Whether they realize it or not. And from all different backgrounds, from all different aspects of my life, be it bioscience, be it, you know, my personal life, you know, anything recreational, I've actually been able to connect a lot of the dots through music. Music has really been a foundation in all of that.
Success means different things to different people. In this chapter of your life right now, how do you define success? What does it mean to you?
Success actually means what I'm doing right now. Everything that I, quote unquote, played at as a child, when I think about and look at my life right now, I'm amazed that I actually am doing it. And so it goes back to what you said earlier, that you believe that our lives are very dependent on our upbringing and the environments that we grew up in. And that's so true. And I think that my parents provided an environment for me where they wanted us to have different options and see different things, be able to experience different things, to figure out what you want to do or not. And I just ended up doing all of them.
What do you say to a woman who's listening to our program somewhere around the world, who has a dream, who has a wish, who has a talent she hasn't started using?
So I was listening to something the other day, and it really struck a chord for me. And it was Mary J. Blige, and she was talking about a conversation that she was having with Shaka Khan, actually. And she said that Shaka Khan said to her, and you know, Mary J. Blige went through her stages. So she said that Shaka Khan had said to her, you know, you're a great artist, you're wonderful, but you need to learn how to get out of your own way. And she said, what does that mean? And what it meant was, stop doubting yourself. Stop doubting yourself. If there's something that you want to do, then do it. Jump in with both feet. Don't be afraid. You know what I mean? Don't let your fears stop you from pursuing your dreams and your goals.
I want to say thank you so much for sharing your story, which is so inspiring.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for being on The Story Behind Her Success, Sheilah Dorsey.
Thank you, Candy. Thank you for the opportunity.